YouTube. Let me set the scene here. It's Wednesday, June 21st. I'm invited to a media event by Nintendo to go play Pikmin 4. Obviously, I say yes. For some reason, very surprising to me, Nintendo decides to hold a Nintendo Direct the same day that I have a media appointment to go play Pikmin 4 in New York City. So I take the train in extra early. I set up my little workstation because I'm still working remotely at this point in time. I set up my little station in Starbucks across the street from Nintendo New York. And so I got one of the more unique viewpoints of the Nintendo Direct. It was like a bucket list item I didn't know I had, but it was really cool. And then an hour or two later, I made my way across the city to get my hands on some games. I will say that this event that I attended for media was kind of a two-part event, so stay tuned tomorrow to my social media and stuff if you have any interest in my coverage for Everybody 1-2 Switch. But today, we're talking about Pikmin 4. So I arrived to a really awesome event venue. There's the adorable Ochi, of course, which you may have already seen on my social media, but there were also these really cute standees at each of the stations, and it was just a really cute setup all around. Look at the Pikmin holding the Hanafuda card. It's so cute. I got to get my hands on the game, obviously, and I played for a little over an hour overall. And before we get into any of the details, I will just preface this all by saying I had a lot of fun with the game. I'm really excited for Pikmin 4, and getting my hands on it did not make the wait for the next month until the game comes out any easier. Without boring you all with all of the details, I will say that I brought my capture card and managed to forget to bring the correct power cable because for some reason my capture card uses micro USB instead of USB-C. Why? Don't know. But don't worry, because Nintendo did provide me with a whole bunch of B-roll, so I got some video in here, some footage you may have not seen before. Just to be aware that it may not go one-to-one with what I'm talking about with my experience, and that's why. Story-wise, I dove right into gameplay, so I don't have like any in-depth knowledge of the story yet, but the oversimplified gist of it is that you're playing as your own character and you're searching for other castaways on this unfamiliar land, very familiar Pikmin stuff. And of course, you come across Pikmin to help you out pretty early on, pretty much instantly, the first thing you do. One thing that stands out to me is what one of the Nintendo reps said, which was that if it's helpful, you could think about this game as just Pikmin instead of Pikmin 4, since it's really a perfectly acceptable starting point in the series. If you're familiar with Pikmin as a series, then you're going to feel right at home with this gameplay. And if you're not, then don't worry, because the game does a really good job of explaining as you go. Although I also have to give mention that now Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 Deluxe are on the Switch. They're all pretty short games, so you absolutely have time to finish all 3 before Pikmin 4 comes out next month. And they're all super fun. They're great games. They just are. So if you have the time and a little bit of coin to spare, highly recommend playing through them. I don't know if it will change your perspective on Pikmin 4 at all, better or worse, but I just think they deserve more love. So Pikmin 4, in a nutshell, to me, is all the good bits of classic Pikmin, but with a slight new kind of action-adventure RPG lens. A little bit of that POV mixed in. Oh boy. It's just like Tears of the Kingdom. And it may have been said jokingly, but there is some truth to it. Caves have returned after not being around since Pikmin 2, except now they feel like self-contained little puzzle-esque areas, which might sound familiar. They make for good opportunities to meet some new Pikmin and learn about game mechanics, all while earning Sparklium, which is an important little resource in the game. It's used to power and upgrade your ship, I think. The SS Beagle, which is a great name for a ship, just saying. I did 2 caves in my gameplay, and I saved a castaway in each one of them. One was the bald guy that we've actually seen in some of the trailers so far. His name is Russ. He's a scientist. I'm told he's very useful. I'm not sure what, but he's important for actually progressing your story. So he's one of the important castaways. The other one that I rescued was some guy referred to as a treasure hunter, and from what I understand, this may be a misrepresentation, but from what I gather, gathered. There are the important castaways like Russ the scientist, who are important for progressing your abilities and your story and making it so that you can go farther and do more things. And then there's the other castaways, and my second rescue is in the other castaway category. But let's talk a little bit more about the caves, because I think they're actually a really big deal. I hesitate, I know I already said it was Tears of the Kingdom-esque. I hesitate to call these caves shrine-like because I don't want to give people the wrong idea. I don't want people to think that they're like the actual equivalent to shrines in Zelda, because they're not. But in some ways they are adjacent, in that they're very self-contained, and at least in what I experienced, which again, I will say, again, was only 2 caves, but in my experience, they had a very specific localized gimmick within that cave. So for example, a cave that highly revolves around yellow Pikmin, so there's a lot of stuff high up and some electric fences around. Or another cave that highly revolves around ice Pikmin, so there's jelly fruits around that you need to freeze so you can break them to get through. Or maybe an area of a cave that's entirely for red Pikmin, so there's fire that you have to get by in some way. These cave areas are super cool, and even though I only did 2, I can really see how they add further depth, pun intended, to the game. Let's talk about Ochi, my sweet, sweet baby boy. He's the cutest thing on the planet, or on whatever planets we're visiting within Pikmin. I think it's the lack of a nose that makes him so cute. I actually don't feel like I have too much to say about Ochi that hasn't already been said, except that I think it's awesome that not only does he improve over time in the game, he also grows over time in the game and like becomes more useful, better at carrying things and whatnot. And specifically, I love that he has literally a skill tree, which I barely saw a glimpse of, but he has it, it's there. I will also say, even though I don't think I have very good video to back this up, Ochi has skills that come in really useful, like being able to track scents of castaways or carrying the player and Pikmin across water and things like that. He is as important of a part of gameplay and traversing the land in Pikmin 4 as the Pikmin are. Another really cool thing with Pikmin 4 is that there are aspects of longer-term resource gathering for the purpose of building out the world, and please forgive me if this existed in a past Pikmin game. I don't think it did, but I also have the worst memory on the planet, and Pikmin 3 is the only one that I played very recently. I don't even have a good memory from Pikmin 3, so to my memory, in past Pikmin games, what you would find around the world are like piles of tile or piles of rocks that the Pikmin would be sent out to. They would pick up the tile, they would pick up the rocks, and they would run and they would build a bridge or build whatever new pathway needs to be made with that pile. I do not know if those still exist in Pikmin 4. They might. I don't think they do, though. This is why. In Pikmin 4, there's a more universal building material. There are these sparkly rock things. I don't remember what they're called in the game, like shiny rocks. I don't know what they are. They look like little chunks of glass, or maybe little diamonds. I don't know, something like that. Basically, you pick them up, they get held in your ship. There's a little counter on your screen at all times telling you how many you have, because it's important. And since they're all being held in your ship, now when you come across a spot where it seems like there might be a potential bridge or a path of some kind, that's where those rocks come into play. Your Pikmin, smart little guys, know to run back to the ship, and they kind of transform those materials. I don't know if it's Pikmin doing it or Russ or who, but those materials come out exactly as you need them to be, using up that shiny rock that you've gathered, and that's how the Pikmin get the resources for building bridges and things like that. This is super interesting because it means when you come across a potential bridge or potential pathway, assuming you even notice it, by the way, but when you do, it isn't as simple as there just being a pile nearby that you need to find. You need to have done some resource gathering along the way, and it also probably means it's going to take some more strategy to speed through it. And speaking of changes in how you travel on the map, here's a really big one, and my favorite update so far. When you find spots that are circles of rocks, you can actually move your base. And it's like instantaneous. It's so fast. It makes things so much easier. Huge win for traversing the land and exploring and not worrying too much about making sure you have a quick path back to the entrance of your map and all of the other stressful things that can go on. Not only is this great for the player, just from a quality of life point of view, but also it had me thinking that when the designers were coming up with these maps, they were probably way less restricted than they were when developing the maps in 1, 2, and 3, because when there's numerous locations that can be considered the home base, that means that there's more kind of branching pathways that can be created, because there's less concern over does the player have enough time to make it back to this spot or that spot. There's spots all around. A couple other really quick updates. Spicy Spray is back. If you're familiar with Spicy Spray, it's the juice that makes your Pikmin turn red and get really fast and powerful. And it exists in this game. You collect it. I think I got it, as an enemy drop, but it may have been inside some kind of a crystal. I don't remember. I found the Spicy Spray, and then I just had to push a button essentially to use it. Also, something I didn't experience at all, but I did get to see it in the B-roll footage that Nintendo shared, and so I was shocked that I totally missed out on this. There's apparently a rewind feature in Pikmin 4. It's for maybe like when you do something you didn't intend to, or lose a few too many Pikmin to a bad guy. I didn't experience this at all in my gameplay, so I'm not speaking from firsthand experience, but I did see it in the footage that Nintendo shared. I will say, to me, this feels a little cheap, but at the same time, I could see myself using it because it's really frustrating if you do something silly or don't realize that you're putting your Pikmin in danger, and then the next thing you know, you have no Pikmin. This could help curb devastating loss, the kind of loss that makes you want to turn the game off. So that's always a good thing. Also, it's not free. From what I could tell when I watched the footage, it looked like some of the sparklium was used up. So it's not like a free, you could just rewind free for all whenever you want. And then last but not least, I did get to try out Dandori battles. They are super fun. Unshockingly, very fun. In Pikmin 3, bingo battles were always my favorite. But the big flaw with bingo battles is that there's no online multiplayer. And in Dandori battles, there is also, as far as I can tell, no online multiplayer. But there is one improvement that's gone on, and that is you can play against a computer now. In fact, you have to play against a computer because there are Dandori battles that pop up in the single player. So for people like me who love these fun little multiplayer games, but who don't get to play like bingo battle ever because I don't have anyone to play with, you don't have to worry about that so much with Dandori battles because you can play them solo. Dandori battles are basically short battles against another player where each of you has to bring your items and your enemies back to your onion and get as many points as you can while there's rotating double like bonus scores for certain items, and there's also items that are on the map that you can use to sabotage your foe. It's fun. Again, huge missed opportunity, in my humble opinion, to have no online multiplayer. Maybe it'll come in someday in the future. Don't get your hopes up on that one. Nintendo also provided me with copies of Pikmin 1 and 2, and I already had Pikmin 3 Deluxe, so I'm hoping to play through all 3 of them before Pikmin 4 comes out. Which is actually a tall order, even though they're not long games, because I only have 2 temples done in Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm trying to finish that before Pikmin 4 comes out. Pikmin 4 comes out on July 21st, so it's a little under a month if you're watching this when I put the video out. And here's big fun stuff. If you're interested in giving Pikmin 4 a try before it comes out, a demo will be available on the eShop on June 28th. That's this Wednesday, I think. Definitely the kind of game that, like, if you're on the fence about, just give it a shot. See if you jive with the controls, with the gameplay. You may like it, you may not, but demo is a great way to find that out. Let me know if you have any questions about my Pikmin 4 experience. I will answer it if I can in the comments. Off the top of my head, there's not like anything I saw that's off limits, so I'm not like, I can't talk about X, Y, or Z. There's just a lot that I haven't seen, so I may not be able to answer all your questions. So thank you for watching. Thank you again to Nintendo for the invite, and I will talk to you all soon. Love you. Mwah.
Deeku, deeku, deeku. Da-na-na-na-na-na, 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 da-na-na-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, da-na-na-na-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.